Happy birthday, Jessica! This week marks the 60th anniversary of life of my best friend, lover, and partner, Jessica. It also marks well over 40 years of sharing this thing called life. As I have written before, making life with Jessica is by far the best decision I ever made. We are celebrating her this week together with our 4 wonderful children and their spouses. And I thought it was a good week to dive a bit deeper into intimacy and how we might want to think about that, both personally and what we can learn from it relative to our broken public discourse. As Esther Perel reminded us recently, there is also a very important dimension that we certainly can improve upon relative to civic intimacy. Seen is not the same as known. While connection has become effortless, closeness has not kept pace. We document our encounters, exchange messages at speed, and appear in one another's lives in carefully curated moments. Contact is constant. Somewhere along the way, however, we began mistaking this type of visibility for trust. We assumed that because we were seen together or captured in the same frame, we were known. But intimacy does not grow from exposure. It grows from continuity, from being witnessed over time. When intimacy thins, we lose trust, and even the most efficient systems begin to feel hollow. Intimacy resists speed. By its nature, intimacy resists speed. It cannot be rushed or optimized. It does not respond to urgency or convenience. For example, physical closeness can happen quickly. 2 people can meet, undress, and share a moment that feels exposed, even vulnerable. We often confuse that with intimacy. But exposure is not closeness. Immediacy is not trust. Intimacy is formed through repetition, shared experience, and the quiet familiarity that develops over time. It requires patience, continuity, a willingness to remain long enough to be known. Sharing is not intimacy. Intimacy is often framed as disclosure. We believe that if we are vulnerable, we are automatically being intimate. But that framing misses the point. It is not defined by what is revealed. It is defined by how that revelation is received and whether we can hold the witnessing back and forth for each other. People move through the world with armor. Experience adds layers over time. Disappointments reinforces them. Intimacy does not demand that armor be stripped away all at once. It develops when someone proves over time that they can be trusted with what lies beneath. The process is gradual and earned. This is why certain rituals, such as weddings, coming-of-age moments, and gatherings that mark transition, endure. They are easy to dismiss as tradition or celebration, but their deeper function is relational. They create the conditions to be truly seen. They say, I see who you are becoming. I am here to hold that moment with you. To be intimate with someone is to truly see each other's lives, not briefly or performatively, but across years. It means enough shared history that words require less explanation, enough continuity that silence carries meaning, enough presence that trust no longer needs testing. This is where modern culture misleads us. We are encouraged to share constantly, to narrate our lives and make ourselves visible. Closeness does not grow from being watched from the sidelines. It grows from being fully present with another, regardless of what is seen. Presence without words. My sister died quite young, and many people did not know what to do or say. That uncertainty is understandable. Grief makes most of us uncomfortable. We worry about saying the wrong thing, so we hesitate. Many people stayed silent. Others sent polite cards filled with careful words. It was a very difficult time, and I don't blame people for not knowing what to do. But one of my parents' friends, who understood intimacy well, knew exactly what to do. A few days after her death, he arrived at our house carrying bags of food. He didn't announce himself or explain why he was there. He didn't try to comfort us with language. He simply walked into the kitchen and began unloading groceries, fresh fish, vegetables, enough food for dozens of people. He cooked, set the table, and served the meal. He hugged my parents, kissed me on the cheek, and then left. He didn't say a word. He understood something many people miss. In life-altering moments like that, explanation is unnecessary. What matters is recognizing what is needed and showing up to meet it. He knew we were grieving. He knew people would be coming by. He knew we wouldn't have the energy to cook, host, or think ahead. So he took care of it. I remember that day clearly, and I am deeply touched by it, even decades later. It was a quiet act of attunement, a recognition of what the moment meant, and a willingness to be present without trying to fix anything. Staying, not solving. One of the most common misunderstandings about intimacy is the belief that care means fixing. Closeness does not depend on solutions. It depends on being there. That does not mean doing nothing. It means resisting the impulse to remove another person's experience simply to make it more comfortable for ourselves. When someone is struggling, our instinct is to move toward action, to ask what should be done, to figure out how to make the discomfort disappear. Sometimes that impulse helps. Often it does not. What the moment calls for is not direction, but accompaniment. There is a difference between helping someone move forward and trying to move them out of their experience. Staying asks us to remain when the outcome is unclear and to leave unresolved what is not ours to fix. Trust deepens not when problems vanish, but when someone proves they will remain even when they do not know what to say or do. Staying communicates something solutions cannot. It says, you are not alone in this. Endless communication, very little communion. Technology has undeniably expanded our reach. In earlier times, closeness was largely confined to the people who lived nearby. Today, geography has flattened. We remain connected across distance, sustain relationships that would once have faded, and can even digitally see the people we love when we are far apart. Used well, these tools are a gift. But digital reach has limits. Technology excels as transmission, yet it struggles to convey what often matters most in human connection. The pause before someone speaks, a shift in posture, the expression that lingers after a sentence ends, physical touch, even the familiar scent that signals someone is near. Much of intimacy lives in these quiet, nonverbal spaces. Digital communication compresses these signals or removes them entirely. Even at its best, it offers only a partial version of presence. There is also a subtler cost. In face-to-face conversation, consequence is immediate. Words land and expressions shift. Reactions cannot be outsourced or indefinitely delayed. That immediacy creates vulnerability. Repair, when needed, happens in real time. Digital environments soften that exposure. Messages can be edited, reconsidered, or withdrawn before they fully register. While this can reduce harm, it also reduces risk. And without risk, trust cannot deepen. None of this makes technology the enemy. It has made relationships possible that would otherwise be impossible or unsustainable. But it cannot carry the full weight of connection on its own. Intimacy is civic. Intimacy is usually treated as something private, limited to our closest relationships. But it has a public dimension as well. As Esther Perel, the psychotherapist and author, has observed, intimacy is not only personal, it is also civic. When society feels fractured, the instinct is often to pull back, to focus on what feels manageable, and to lower expectations of public life altogether. That reaction is understandable, but it overlooks the fact that we are more interdependent than we like to admit. Not in theory, but in practice. In shared spaces, on sidewalks, in grocery stores, in the ordinary places where daily life unfolds. The evidence is simple. When pessimism rises, go somewhere ordinary and watch how people behave when they are not performing. Daily life often contradicts the headlines. Small gestures matter more than we assume. A door held open, a real question asked without rushing past the answer, a moment of attention that signals, I see you. These are not dramatic acts, but neither are they trivial. Their effect is cumulative. Kindness tends to invite kindness. Presence invites presence. When someone feels acknowledged, even briefly, the tone shifts. When they feel invisible, connection is missed and pain increases. There is nothing novel about this, yet it feels almost radical now, given how efficiently we have trained ourselves to avoid one another. Civic intimacy does not require agreement. It requires availability. A willingness to show up as a kind human being in shared space. Large change never begins everywhere at once. It has always started with a few people behaving differently. When care extends beyond private life and shows up in everyday encounters, trust begins to rebuild in small, durable ways. These acts may look insignificant, but over time, they shape whether a society feels human. Trust depends on intimacy. Leadership also requires intimacy. When it becomes too performative, it loses its ability to provide direction. It becomes a mirror rather than a lamp, more concerned with how someone appears than with where they are pointing. The same pattern shows up in democracy. Without intimacy, it grows increasingly transactional. Politicians become overly focused on votes and talking points. Mutual regard is lost, and communities begin to feel they are being spoken at rather than spoken with. When relationships are built on branding, credibility fades. The consequences are subtle at first. People don't stop caring, but they stop believing they matter. When no one seems to be listening, when trust is low, withdrawal becomes rational. Why engage if nothing changes? Why show up if your voice carries no weight? Over time, withdrawal hardens into despair. The circle of concern narrows. People retreat to what feels controllable in their private lives. The cost of that retreat is a weakened sense of shared community. Trust is not decorative. It is the condition that allows participation at all. Without it, systems may continue to operate, but they feel mechanical. What intimacy actually looks like? Some believe intimacy requires a false sense of safety. Safety is often mistaken for the absence of challenge, for agreement, for never saying the wrong thing. But that is not intimacy. Real intimacy can hold honesty and tolerate discomfort. It allows for critique when it is offered in service of growth rather than control. One of the clearest signs of trust is the ability to speak plainly without fear that the relationship will fracture. Intimacy is not an audition. You are not managing how you are perceived or calibrating your words for approval. You are simply present. You can speak without pretense and share without calculating consequences. Trust shows up in small, telling ways, in what people are willing to hold and what they do not feel compelled to withhold, and whether what is shared stays where it belongs. When trust is present, information does not leak. Confidence is not weaponized. Vulnerability is treated with care. When intimacy is absent, the opposite happens. Conversations remain polite but shallow. Everything is filtered and little lands. Caution dominates. Over time, that distance becomes normal, even within long-standing relationships. One way to sense the difference is in the response, not the content. When you share something tentative or unfinished, what happens next? Is there curiosity and warmth, a desire to understand more, or does the moment pass without engagement? Intimacy is often revealed less by what is said than by how it is received. At its core, the distinction is simple. When you're with someone, can you be fully yourself? Not idealized or guarded, just present. Do you leave feeling more open or more contained? More at ease or more grateful and careful? Intimacy does not guarantee ease or eliminate tension, but it creates a space where truth can exist without fear, and where trust grows from the confidence that what is shared will be held with respect. Now your turn. Where in your life are you truly known, not simply seen? And what are ways you can know people you care about more fully and wholly in your life? How do you practice your intimacy muscle? Please read and engage and let me know what you think. Bye.